naked shorts, the illegal practice of short selling a stock without actually locating that stock to borrow. So is naked shorting happening in this market?
As smaller companies continued to be destroyed, and as average investors on Main Street lost their shirts to naked short selling, John Harmer, a former California state senator and lieutenant governor under Ronald Reagan, became intrigued with this little-known practice. But Harmer soon discovered that naked short selling had decimated the value of many small companies.
GameStop.
This shit's gotta end. Retail investors are the backbone of the stock market, but all too often, their hard-earned investments are being undermined by illegal and unethical practices like naked short selling, rehypothecation, and failure to deliver. This results in extreme volatility in the stock market, leaving retail investors feeling helpless and betrayed. Is there something that retail investors can do to fight back? Some investors have already lost their trust and are getting out of investing, while others are taking the advice of experts to switch their margin account to cash, but most are stuck in a financial situation where they become bag holders. It's time for retail investors to fight back. Trading brokers must be put on notice to not allow rehypothecation, failure to deliver, and to stop allowing stocks to be borrowed even when the stock cannot be located. Naked short selling is a practice where traders sell shares they do not actually own and fail to deliver the shares within the mandated time frame. This artificially suppresses the stock price and results in losses for retail investors. Rehypothecation is when a broker takes assets, such as stocks or bonds, pledged by its clients as collateral, and uses them for their own purposes, often lending them out to other traders. This can lead to a situation where a single asset is being used as collateral by multiple parties, resulting in a significant risk to retail investors. Failures to deliver, FTD, occur when either sellers fail to deliver or buyers fail to receive securities in time to settle a trade. Settlement of a trade is the point at which the seller is required to deliver the securities agreed upon in the trade, and the buyer has to deliver the funds to pay for the securities. In a naked short sale, the seller does not borrow or arrange to borrow the securities in time to make delivery to the buyer within the standard 2-day settlement period. As a result, the seller fails to deliver securities to the buyer when delivery is due. This is known as a failure to deliver or fail. And finally, allowing stocks to be borrowed even when the stock cannot be located can result in the creation of synthetic shares, which can be used to artificially manipulate the stock price. The ultimate aim of the naked short sellers is not only to crash the stock price and make money. When the stock price of a company is decimated, the company risks getting delisted or file for bankruptcy. In that event, the naked short seller keeps the profit without having to declare the gains and avoid paying gain tax. That's why they'll go to extent of crashing the stock price, take their gains and move on to their next victim. This also opens to the possibility of any competing company to have interest in shorting or working with naked short seller to attack the competitor's stock price to boot them out of a market. When a company goes bankrupt, the retail investors lose their money. These practices are illegal and unethical, and retail investors must call for their trading brokers to put an end to them. Retail investors need to hold these brokers accountable for their actions. They should not be allowed to continue to take advantage of this illegal practice. Retail investors must also call the CEOs to be accountable for their fiduciary duty to the board and the shareholders. They must take measures to ensure that the stocks are not subjected to naked short sellers. They should invest in technology that monitors, collects data, and reports any signs of stock manipulation.
There's three buckets of really wrongdoing. There's naked short selling. There is lending out more shares than you have, which creates more naked short selling. And then there's spoofing. Now, there's many other forms of manipulation, match trades, wash trades, all that. But Wall Street, from where I sit, has become more sophisticated. So spoofing seems to be, one of the main events, which are these baiting orders that are posted to send a stock a direction. In most of the cases we're looking at, the direction is down. And of course, baiting orders are never real. They're put up there. They're more lies that are perpetrated and posted to induce the investing public to do something based on the reality of those baiting orders, which of course aren't real because they get taken down throughout the day, if not at the end of the day. So we have a complaint, Harrington in the Southern District of New York, that is passed the motion to dismiss. We just filed an amended complaint. That's ongoing. Cohen Milstein filed the Northwest Bio complaint. That's ongoing, which I'm a part of that. But again, they get credit for where that case is today. And the main, they're the lead lawyer in the case, which is good because we had to increase our bench over time. And incidentally, that's going to increase. We're going to bring more lawyers into the fold here because what's happening is because of this new awareness between CEOs, between the Reddit group, between the cases we have pending and other cases forthcoming, and John Berta now coming on and exposing that. There's a movement, I say, as evidenced by the fact that I've heard, I haven't verified, that there's going to be some kind of march on either New York or DC against, the naked short selling and really Wall Street eating these companies. I think it's sometime in the...
It's next Friday and Saturday, right in front of the SEC in Washington.
Yeah, well, you know more about it than I do, but that just illustrates the form of the movement, okay? What's happened is people are getting tired of getting ripped off. And so ultimately, this is going to cause, a revolution of some type, a financial revolution, a peaceful protest. I don't know the forms it takes. I'm not involved in any of that. I've got my plate full and just doing the legal part of this with our team. But this movement is growing. It's growing at a rapid pace. And because of that, it's going to create new awareness and shine a light on this, which frankly, Wall Street has been successful until recently, until GameStop and AMC in keeping this in the dark. We've settled a bunch of cases along the way. We made progress. I think we're at case number 20 or 21, but that's over 20 years. So it's not misleading to your listeners. But you're going to see the number of cases brought escalate, and it's going to escalate because more lawyers are seeing this is real. More boards are seeing this is real. And frankly, they don't want to get sued by their shareholders, so they're going to take action. At worst case, they're going to take some action to at least look at this and see, is it true? And if it is true, then they're going to be put in a different bucket, which is you need to take action or not. And ultimately, I think most of them will, once we can show them that the evidence is there. Obviously, we're not going to pursue a case if there isn't sufficient evidence. So that movement's ongoing. You got Gary Gensler, who I think is trying to make a difference. Unfortunately, that didn't end up solving any of the problems, as I said, just because, until you eliminate the failure to deliver issue and lending the same share multiple times and allowing naked short selling to exist, especially with bona fide market makers, which I don't know too many of those, to be honest, that I see from where I sit. So you eliminate those issues, then you'll clean this up. But until then, we're going to have to keep fighting and demand accountability to stop this carnage. Wall Street, if you go look at what FINRA has done and what SEC has done and other regulatory agencies, they have fined them multiple times, hundreds of times. But it is a cost of doing business, as one federal judge said in New York in a different case, not our case, a different case. And so, and the same thing with the $900 million fine. How much did Morgan make off of spoofing the metal markets, if that's what it was? I think it was the metals market, precious metals. Then they must have made materially more than the $900 something million fine. And so, as long as they can make more off of this illegal process than they have to pay, then it's still a good business model. So ultimately, once it's exposed, what I anticipate is going to happen is more criminal prosecutions are going to come to bear, and that's really what we need on top of the civil actions we're doing. For the first time in history, they actually prosecuted those people, and I would consider those, officers of Morgan, not low-level people, some scumbag hedge fund, okay, or some low-level person trader. You see several of those. On top of the big firms that have been fined, but those fines are a cost of doing business. So ultimately, it's going to be the criminal prosecutions, it's going to be the number of lawsuits that are brought that ultimately are successful, that aggregate this to where, frankly, the regulatory bodies don't have a choice but to say, oh my heavens, we got to stop this, okay? or we're going to get lynched. Okay. So ultimately it's exposing the truth of this versus people to say, oh no, it's a minor phenomenon. It's nothing. They've said that for years and years and years. And of course, Rob Shapiro, to his credit, has stood up and said, oh no, that's just not true. This is systemic. And of course, the SEC and DTC and all of them say, no. But go look at Leslie Bonai's report from, 15, 16 years ago, hired by the SEC, not us. She found major shortcomings back then. So there's data there if you want to look at it. And what's happening now, we're going to bring all that data to the forefront in lawsuits and CEOs aggregating the data and shareholders aggregating the data and get it out in the public domain. And then ultimately, more people are going to jump on this train. Now we have a revolution of sorts to where it's going to be exposed at such a magnitude that ultimately change will happen. That's my belief.
How should CEOs be communicating right now in order for them to be able to actually get in front of get the trust of their shareholders, basically?
Yeah, it's a great question. My partner in this, Alan Pollack at Warshaw Bernstein, did a memo that articulates the fiduciary duty that, frankly, the board owes the company. That duty runs to the company, incidentally, not to shareholders. And that duty includes if the board has reason to believe, using normal and reasonable analytics, that the company is having a fraud perpetrated against it, which in this case is selling shares that aren't authorized, then frankly they have an affirmative duty to uphold their fiduciary duty to take action. So I think what's happening is now is more CEOs from our perspective are coming forward and saying, my gosh, we didn't know about this. We have to do something about this. So kudos to you and your board for moving it to the next level, because that's what you need to do to protect your shareholders and uphold your duty, your fiduciary duty to the company, in your case, Genius. So ultimately, there is a movement about CEOs getting organized here that's going to change that playing field. And that message is going to be sent out to all the other CEOs who are doing nothing. And frankly, shame on them. And if they're doing nothing, then maybe a group of shareholders needs to come in and say, hey, can we pay for these analytics to figure out, do we have a case? And I want to be clear, many companies we've looked at, some of them don't have a case. That's a different issue. But we're able to tell that pretty early on if they don't. So ultimately, it's up to the CEOs who think this is being perpetrated against their company to take action. If not, a group of shareholders to try and take action. But at the end of the day, it's much easier if the company will cooperate. If the company won't cooperate, then frankly, it's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. And I've run into that in many instances. It blows my mind. The company's reaction typically is, well, we can't bite the hand that's feeding us, or we can't go against Wall Street because, my God, if we do, we're going to die. And I'm like, based on what I see, you're going to die anyway. So at least die fighting, if nothing else. So it's a real dilemma because, Wall Street is a powerful force and a powerful, adversary, frankly.
The CEOs must understand the concerns of retail investors and must commit to protect their investments. Invest on tools that implement measures to prevent naked short selling and other illegal practices. By demanding accountability and transparency, retail investors can ensure that their investments are protected and that the stock market remains a fair and accessible place for all. Trading brokers must also be notified to end illegal naked short selling, rehypothecation, failure to deliver, and the practice of allowing stocks to be borrowed even when the stock cannot be located. And don't forget to hold CEOs accountable for fulfilling their fiduciary duty to protect shareholder investments. Together, we can make a difference. Join the fight to end illegal practices in the stock market. Please share this video and encourage every retail investors to proactively join our crusade to end illegal naked short selling. Naked short selling is illegal and therefore must be stopped. If charged with naked short selling by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, the guilty party could face injunctions, civil penalties, incarceration, and fines.